Yeah,
There we go. Yeah, so did you find it, Don?
I found it. It's always been here.
Hi, Faith.
Sometimes you lose it. So
It appears sometimes I lose it,
yeah.
but not really.
Yeah. So welcome, everybody. Amor, Faith, Don. Good to have you here. It's just a sharing that could resonate. All is this already. So already no one's separate. And just this does not have a past. That's an imagining happening always now. You know, yesterday I did this, that, and the other. I grew up in this house. None of that's happening now. It's like little mini mental movies. And they can be fun and entertaining until they're not. So here, the sense of separation was so painful that that is all that ever mattered, so to say. And funny enough, I never found a solution. Somehow the futility of seeking just became obvious for nobody. It just becomes apparent that you're never going to find what you're looking for. It doesn't exist. Because what you're looking for is in the future, and this is all there is. And this is not the future or the past. It doesn't mean that the seeking will stop. The seeking's free to seek, but it suddenly has nothing to do with you. You realize you were never behind the seeking, you were never the fuel, it was never yours to begin with. Mm-hmm. It's like you don't have the ability to produce seeking energy. It just sort of showed up. Like everything. Everything just shows up and it's gone, shows up and it's gone. And so that's the freedom, is that it has no past. So it is always fresh and new. Me seemingly has the past. I have a past. Apparently. There you go, Amor. I got apparently in early. I loved Leela's answer when Rosa asked Leela what she thought of the word, and Leela said, "Well, I like it." apparently. So this is an open meeting. Everybody's invited to participate. If you have a comment or question, please feel free to unmute and jump in.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Faith. I hope the shit show's going well for you today. Yeah, I was, so a family member of mine passed away. They found him dead on the couch, melting into the couch because his body was falling apart, decomposing into the couch. An aunt walked in and found him like that. And, I was sitting here crying not long ago. I felt the sadness of my aunt, the sadness of the reality that one day all of us are going to appear to, well, maybe it won't be a couch, but it might be a coffin, decompose in such a way. And this is all just appearances, as Michael said so greatly before. We appear to live this life. We appear to be born. We appear to die in a number of ways. I appear to be sad over the thought of somebody suffering because of it. Another individualized special somebody with their own special name, their own special story. So I was wondering if Michael could maybe say a few words on this topic.
On death?
Well, on death and on the situation.
Well, what situation?
Well, the sadness of losing somebody.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Somebody posing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, that's completely natural. If you love someone and they're not here anymore, yeah, it's quite natural to, crying is, I don't know, there's something beautiful about when people cry. It's funny when someone's crying, it seems to touch us in a different way than words do. And of course, that's a story, but nonetheless, when someone's crying, it seems to cut through the bullshit. Because it kind of gets right to the pain and avoids the story. It's not really interested in the story. It's hurting too much. You ever notice how you feel better after you cry?
It's almost like a release.
Yeah, a cleansing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a bit tough when you feel the sadness and you can't cry.
It's almost as if it builds up inside of you. And the crying is the letting it go.
And when you can't cry, it usually means it's still intellectual.
Yeah.
You see, it's funny. This may appear Michael sitting here teaching people or speaking on something about this. This may appear as us talking about a body decomposing or about crying or about sports or about politics. And it's all just equally what is. What a shit show.
No escape. It's funny, no escape can be heard in a way you could say two ways. So if the sense of personal me hears it, it sounds dreadful. Just dreadful. What do you mean there's no escape? God damn, you mean I just have to sit and suffer? And then the other way it can be heard, maybe by no one, is that there's only ever just this. So whatever reaction comes up is perfectly this: the sadness, the frustration, the anger, the boredom, the death, the ant decomposing on the couch, all of it. Dan, you're a bit tardy. Do you have a note?
No, I'm just no good. You know that. Yeah, this no escape thing. I mean, it's a useful piece of information, because it's the person is busy escaping, always escaping, is in a state of trying to escape from what is going on, from what is. And it's useful to notice that. Me and my noticing. It's not noticed. I mean, to notice that the person is just this activity of trying to escape this and get to something else, to that. And to notice also that that is not possible. It doesn't make any sense. There is no this and that. There is no that to escape to. There's no one to escape. That whole scheme is a fantasy. It's made up. It's imagination, not real. So that's what I hear when you say no escape. It's kind of pointing out to the fact that what the person is always doing is trying to make my escape, and do it with all the stuff that I know about what's going on and what I can do. And it's all nothing. There's just this. So the whole escape business doesn't really apply. It's not, it applies to the story of me, this weird kind of dream. Anyway.
Yeah, no, it is like a dream, Dan. It's the dream of feeling like you're getting closer or feeling like you're getting further, right? Mm-hmm. This sort of back and forth between clarity and confusion. That's the...
Yeah. And where am I? And how am I going to get from here to there?
Yeah.
That's every moment of the so-called life of me.
Right, but it can be noticed that you actually never get anywhere.
Yeah, well, that's what we talk about here. That's what this is. There's you never get anywhere. There isn't anywhere. This is nowhere. No, it's funny. It's the most obvious thing, I guess, but nobody wants to say it. Nobody wants to hear it.
Yeah, Dan, I would say that there's already nobody separate from this to get anywhere.
Right.
there may appear to be somebody getting somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny, Michael, you know, we were talking about death, and to go back into that for a second. I was I don't know, it was a couple of weeks ago. I got a message from Sander in the middle of the night, and he sent me a picture of his face. He got stung by a bee,
Oh yeah.
and his face swelling up, and he said to me something like, death can come at any moment. What a joy. And then he goes, how's your dog and your kid? And I said, why are you worrying about my dog and my kid? You should be at the hospital.
Yeah, thank you. That was
I'm fine.
Yeah, I know he sent it to me too. He sent me both a photograph, and in case I still didn't get it, it was just completely masked up. His whole face had swollen up like a balloon. His eyes were closed, and he did look like he needed to go somewhere. A hospital looked like a good bet. And he's making a recording for YouTube. This is just it too. Getting stung by 1,000 bees is it too. Oh my God.
He's asking me about my dog and my kid, and the guy's like, you know, I'm like, get to a hospital.
Yeah, that's what should be happening, right?
Jeez.
I was
No, I just-
worried. Sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I was worried that he wouldn't be able to breathe with all that swelling going on.
Well, he did. His wife had better sense, and she said, no, we're getting you. They have a place that's not too far, that's closer than a hospital. I think this place is like 45 minutes. So the nurse there gave him a bunch of antibiotics and shots, like 12 of them. So it was really good that he went. And he cleared up pretty fast. Within a day or two, you know, he's back to his usual cherubic, handsome self. Cedric, buddy, good to see you, Ghostbuster. Did you come to bust some ghosts?
Pretty much. We're all ghosts. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good to see you.
Thank you. Yeah, I wasn't here last Wednesday. My son was born last Wednesday. So
Congratulations. What a show, right? We got Amor starting off with death, and we have Cedric bringing the life. It's everything. It's everything.
Congratulations, Cedric.
Yeah.
It's a hell of an experience being a father.
true. Definitely testing.
Is this your first?
Second.
Okay.
Yeah. So what's going on?
Ah.
I'd like to say there's nothing going on, but I'm still trying to get it. So add that in there. So it's 6:20, and I should have it by about 6:40, I think. Then I'll lose it. And then Kosi hopefully comes on, and then I'll get it again. And then, yeah. So same old over here. How's it going for you guys?
I thought you started with it.
I did, but I lost it. I can't believe it slipped away from me. I had it. Now I'm separate again, all alone.
Michael, I think you have to do your opening talk again, Michael.
Yeah, this really can't be understood. I promise you. If it could, I'd be a millionaire. I would write the shit out of all the books I could. I really would. But it just can't be explained.
Well, the act of trying to explain it is this already. So there's plenty of books on this. There's plenty of books on Christianity too. It's all just equally the shit show.
When you speak of nothing happening, something that fascinates me is that I've landed here with you, Mob. I got this book back from a
the Bible.
yeah. Well, the thing is that when I listen to maybe 80% of the people that I listen to of the non-duality community, that this was important to them.
Yeah, here too.
It was important. It was important to me too. It was like, I couldn't believe that when I spoke to a couple of my friends about it, they'd never heard of it. And, you know, there was no interest and had never heard of it.
Yeah.
And I just thought this will revolutionize everybody. It'll mean everything to everybody. So my journey, my apparent journey, has been looking at Christianity, you know, born again Christian. A lot of people talk about that too. That's what they went through. And then, yeah, Oprah introducing Eckhart Tolle. And then I went in. It's such a common story in this community. Then after Eckhart Tolle, I went into well, yeah, like Gangaji, self-inquiry, and Muji, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember all of them, but when I listen to interviews with people, they've been through the same sort of path that I have. And then we all land here. Yeah, and then some of us don't get it, and others of us don't get it. And I don't know, but here I am. I just find it fascinating that what has touched me has touched mostly the radical non-duality people that I listen to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know just what you mean. That book was revolutionary. I remember getting home and sitting on the bed and cracking it open. And the first sentence was, "The now is all there is." And it's a stunner. But my little caveat, and it actually is Ram Dass who wrote that famous book, Be Here Now. You guys remember that? Be Here Now, from the 60s. It's like written on trash bags or something. And the problem is that I was always trying to be here now. There was a me who was thinking it needed to stick, and I could never do it. Never. Not one.
Yeah, well, it's a doing thing.
Yeah.
It's requiring you to do something. And the relief of coming into the radical non-duality where there's no you to do anything.
Well, this is what I say, Faith. Well, so that book in the story of was the book that started my apparent seeking. I went from Christianity and jumped into that. And then I also went on to Muji, and Ramana was my teacher for years. And so anyways, that book. So I like to say that if my sink breaks, I'm going to pick up a book on plumbing. If I would like to live without thought, well, I'm going to pick up The Power of Now. There's nothing wrong with reading that, and there's nothing wrong with the idea of a faith learning to be in the now. It's already this. But I don't know about you guys, but I also, after The Power of Now, another book that always comes to mind, and me and Michael talked about these books, in our chat. It was the autobiography of a yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. That was a really big book in the story of Amor.
Mm.
Yeah,
No, I didn't.
our paths are very similar. I started out, well, first I was bar mitzvahed when I was 13, so I was steeped in the Jewish tradition, went to Hebrew school. But then quickly, my neighbor was a born-again Christian, and he would have Bible study across the street at his house in the living room. And there was just, love and unconditional acceptance, and everybody was slapping me on the back, and I even spoke in tongues, even though I didn't know how to speak in tongues. I just looked around and copied what they were saying, which was gibberish. But that was how badly I wanted to fit in, and but yeah, it was seeing that didn't work. It was still the sense of separation. There was getting right with Jesus. It was still a doing. Go ahead, Faith.
Oh no, well, yeah, I agree. It's a doing thing, and the Christianity thing for me was a belonging to a group.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
that's what was attractive.
But here, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say I don't have that same sense of belong. I sort of belong in this group in a way, but I don't. That sense of belonging is not feeding me like it did with the Christianity thing.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
As I remember, or if I reflect back on it, I was reading the Bible like almost morning, noon, and night out of fear.
Yep.
Out of fear.
Yep.
I was almost afraid not to. Like somehow the words Jesus Christ would protect me.
Yeah. Yeah, sort of like magical thinking or something. Or
exactly. Well, it was, it's exhausting because you always have to say in Jesus's name, and it's really it can collapse under its own weight.
But see, there's no hierarchy here. There may appear to be a hierarchy in religions and understandings, and there's nobody already separate from this to be. There's no difference between somebody who says in Jesus's name or somebody who sits here and says that they no longer belong to a group. It's all just this. Appearing as all of this other stuff. It's just a shit show. The shit showing.
Well, I just want to say I'm upset on behalf of our friend Alan, who's no longer with us, that nobody mentioned Alan Watts, because he really belongs in there too, in the list. But the thing is, I'm not sure exactly what we're talking about here. I mean, I understand the sharing of this story, which, yeah, we all do. We all have these common touchstones, touch points. I mean, pretty much most people at meetings like this. But that would be true of most people in spiritual meetings, most people at Rupert Spira or Muji or even a New Age Christian church or something. These are all part of the conversation of spirituality. But the difference, there is a difference between what we're talking about and all this other stuff. There's a lot of similarity, definitely, there is. But the difference is that all of that speaks to someone who has an issue of being saved. And these are ways to do it. And that's what we don't have here, because we're just not seeing that. Not seeing anyone to be saved, and we're not seeing any saving. So,
Well, that
What-
is the freedom, that it turns out there was never anyone there to be saved.
And there's already nobody having this understanding. See, there's not a special individualized you that's like, oh yes, I'm the man. I got this understanding. Yeah, I'm enlightened. There's already nobody separate to be a Christian and then to be a Muslim and then to be a non-dualist. There's already nothing happening. It's empty, wholly and completely empty.
No, that only applies to one who is not a person, or
But-
however you want to say it.
But is there
It always is special. Amor, sorry to step on you there, but
I stepped on you too, it's okay.
okay. I mean, the person is special. That's what personness is, specialness. So that's what all that stuff comes from, and that's just part of the business for the person. And there's nothing wrong with that, I would say. But it's not what we're seeing, what we're saying here, because it's a story. I mean, all of that stuff is a story. Yeah, anyway. But the person has to be in a story. If I'm not in a story, I don't exist. There's nowhere for me to be. Nothing for me to do, nowhere to go, nothing. And what I'm always saying is, that's what this is. This is nothing. And there's no one.
Yeah,
Show
I
up.
don't you weren't here in the beginning when I talked about my family member who was found decomposing into the couch. But I'm sure that he felt special with his own special name and his own special story. He was a Muslim. His own special story.
Yeah, it's funny because the person is special with my special story, and that's everyone. Every person is the same specialness. It's the same thing. It's just kind of funny, but special, it seems to have
Yeah, I like the way Sanders says it. He says the me is already me-less. The me is already missing in action.
Mhm.
Yeah, I speak in sarcasm a lot when I speak. So I'm not saying that there's actually a special individualized somebody. But there appears to be, and the appearance may be very vivid.
Yeah, one of the things that I wanted to talk about tonight is, it's often easy to hear in the spiritual world about there not being a past and there not being a future and all that. But here it was not really appreciated that the implications of there not being a past ever. And if any of you saw my one-on-one with Mark, he had the perfect response because he was incredulous. He couldn't believe what I was saying. Wait, Michael, you're saying, he goes, you're saying there's no past? And I was like, yes. And he goes, none at all? Yes. There's never been a past, ever. Any thoughts of a past are always now. They're just thoughts. They're not an actual past.
I think you've been reading too much of The Power of Now.
I'm just sharing what here was seen because when I lugged around my life, Michael's life story was like 100-pound rucksack of my life, and here's where I was raised, and here's my likes, and here's my dislikes, and all of that. And it's such a burden versus just this already doesn't need your story. It doesn't need a past. In fact, there isn't one. If you look now, you can't find a past.
Beautiful, Michael. Beautifully said.
You can't find it present either. I mean, that's the trouble with the power of now, because when we say now, it always ends up meaning a present, some kind of present, some kind of time. And there's no word for really now, timeless. The power of timeless might have been. Then nobody could really relate to it because the person can't do anything with timeless. Now, well, I can do a lot with now. But yeah, there's no present, there's no past, there's no time, there's no ever, there's no world, there's no anything except endless stories of changes that show up, make all kinds of different appearances, endless stories, but they don't go anywhere. Nothing happens. No one gets anywhere. Not anywhere real. And not where the I want to get to. Everything I'm doing in my story is to get to that place. And then I never get there. No one gets there. Stories don't go anywhere. That's it.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I picked up one of my Ramana Maharshi books and I started reading it yesterday. And he talks about how everything is predestined. He speaks a lot on that. And there's already nobody separate for anything to be predestined for. There's already nothing happening. It's already empty.
Yeah, predestined is another way of saying it already is what it is. So there's nothing to change that, I mean,
Is that
go. No, what were we going to say?
Well, no, I said, is that what he meant by that? Because I never understood what he meant by that. Everything is predestined. Who?
Yeah, that's what I hear. And of course, he's, I mean, the person hearing that, the person can only think that I can change what happens. I mean, I can decide what to do. I can make choices. I can go this way or that way. So when Ramana says it's all predestined, of course, we don't know how he said it. I mean, he didn't speak English, but I think that's what I hear him saying. He's pointing out to the fact that it's all already what it is. This imaginary person imagining that I can do something about what is, make it go one way or another, is just a total play.
Well, thank you for answering a long living question with inside of me, because he was my teacher for years, and I've always wondered about that statement that he often made.
Mm. Well, there certainly are a lot of commentaries about Ramana. Can definitely hear a lot of people talk about it. But I say be your own Ramana.
Who are you telling to be their own Ramana?
Ramana. Nobody, I'm just.
There were no teachers to begin with. They're all made up. So there are no teachers. There's no Ramana, no Muji, no teachers, no teaching,
No, no Dawn.
no
I
Don.
think that Don found it again.
You know, Don found it, but since Don isn't here, he doesn't get to enjoy it.
Well, that's it. Ding, ding, ding. Every me wants to be here for their enlightenment.
Yes. Yeah. Good point. Really good point.
Yeah, when I just said be your own ramen, I guess I was thinking about just these endless arguments and discussions that go on, like in, social media, and I mean, endless pages and pages of, no, he meant this, no, he said that, no, about not just ramen, everybody. But, so at some point you just have to be your own word, which is, yeah, that's what we're doing here anyway. Yeah, but no, there is no one. And if there was someone, what would they know anyway?
Yeah, that is a big one. I know Amor Sander was when he came to this meeting several months ago, and the first thing he was like, could feel this sort of energy of waiting for Nkosi to show up. And it was so beautiful how Sander was like, what's this waiting for Nkosi business? As if, he goes, come on, it's, I would just as much listen to you guys as Nkosi. That was sort of Sanders' attitude. It was beautiful. But then Nkosi, right, got wind of this, and he said, it's so good. He said, well, there's already no one there to put anybody on a pedestal.
Well, there may appear to be a preference. There may appear to be a separate individualized somebody who has a preference, and the preference might be Nkosi. I personally love Nkosi. Nkosi is one of my favorite people to chat with. But see, this is just an appearance. There's no separate Amor and a separate Nkosi, and
Yeah.
But here there appears to arise this love for Nkosi.
Mm-hmm.
I love hearing Nkosi speak with that soft voice. He's lovely. I love Nkosi.
Yeah.
And I love Sander, and I love all of you guys though too.
Yeah, but let's bring back Nkosi's point. There is no Nkosi. So there is no anything, and that's why we can love all these things.
Yes.
Yeah, Leela Muse, some of you, she's been on several interviews. She said that it was the fleetingness of this moment that makes it so precious.
So the precious shit show?
Well, that it's fleeting, it's here and gone. And so that in a way is its beauty.
But there's no moment.
No.
So there's no fleeting moment. And there's no beauty in the fleeting moment. That's just another story, a beautiful story. I like that story. I fell into it, but it's just another story.
Well, maybe it's beautiful because it says that you don't have to hold on to anything because there's nothing to hold on to.
But that's a story.
Yeah.
that is.
Whenever talk, it comes out as a story. That's just this already. So, I mean, we could say Jesus is God, and that's just a story, and that's just as equally this as talking about Nkosi. So, yeah, it is a story, and anything that we say is a story. I'm telling a story right now.
Yeah.
Or it's not even you telling a story is being told.
There you go. I knew you had it.
I got it.
Don't
check,
lose it
check,
now.
check. Give me 5 minutes. Ask me again if I have it. Uh-oh, I'm losing it.
Is it a person telling a story, or is the person the story?
Ah, I like that. Yeah, it's this telling a story.
Or you could also say the story telling the story.
Yeah.
But that's
And
just a story.
all of it's just equally this. You could say any of the above. None are valid or invalid already.
Well, that's the thing about stories. They're all the same story. They're all the same. They don't go, that's why we say they don't go anywhere. They don't get to anything. They're all just story. You can't say one is better than the other, or one is this and the other's that. It's just story. They don't mean anything except to another story. Stories and stories and stories. Michael used to say turtles all the way down.
Yeah, this just doesn't go anywhere. It's just always this, regardless of the story. Story or no story.
But then here we're weird because we just like to keep pointing to this and talking about this, which doesn't have any story to it. But so it doesn't make much of a story, I guess.
It's just like going to a Christian church and singing or saying that Jesus is God.
Yeah.
There is no difference. We don't have something that the Christians don't have. There's already nobody to have anything.
So what is this? I know we've talked about stories, but what is this?
Yeah, I love that, Cedric. That to me cuts through all the stories and gets to the point, the pointless point. What is this?
Well, this is you asking the question. This is appearing as a Cedric asking the question, what is this? This is appearing as Michael staring at his camera right now. This is appearing as an Amor answering a question. There's nothing that's not this. There's nothing outside of this. It is just this.
We can't say what this is, because if you do, you're defining this as something separate.
Yeah, so that can be a freedom, funny enough. Yeah, I understand it can also feel frustrating, but here, the fact that there's no right or wrong way to express this, somehow it opened up like hearing other people's perspective without the reaction, without the need that they have to agree with me. It just became sort of interesting to hear, oh yeah, there's that perspective. I never, never hit me like that.
Isn't any answer to that question just another story?
I'd even say that the question itself is a story.
That's true.
Well, let's listen for the answer, Cedric. Let's ask the question and see what it says. What is this?
But I like Don said that isn't the question also, the story? Because it all starts with a question. No one ever saw an answer without asking a question first. So it seems almost like the whole thing starts when I wonder and want to know something.
Yes. Yeah. I talked about that with Mark about knowing seems to veil the freedom. Anything. Just the simple, innocent act of knowing, because this is unknowable. So any answer to what is this? It's like the timeless laughs at your time-bound stories. You know what I mean? It laughs. I mean, it doesn't really, but you know what I mean? It's like time asserting something when time doesn't actually exist.
This is unknowable. There's also a story. We don't know is also a story.
I know is also a story.
Yeah, it's funny. I was watching a little Emerson. Have never really gotten into Emerson, but he would say something like, well, what's between knowing and not knowing?
Yeah, I hear him speak that too. It's really beautiful, but it's an unfair question. It's just it's an unfair question.
Why?
Well, there's no knowing, there's no not knowing, and he's asking what's in between the two, and that's silly. It's silly. It's just, I love Emerson, by the way, but it's silly.
Okay.
Well, Don, did you think we were not going to be silly? This is silly. It doesn't make sense. Because, yeah, it's the question and the answer together before they before they're pulled apart and made into a question that it's moving. That's the journey. And Kosi is always saying there's no journey, but the journey that the mind, the person, the me is always on is this question leading to an answer. The answer is the end of the journey and the question is the beginning. But that's a structure that's being set up. But we could say, okay, but what if we don't pull everything into these pieces of question and then looking at it and then coming to an answer, that process, that's all in time. But what is it all? It's the question and the answer at the same time. But that doesn't make sense. That's what you just said is silly, because it doesn't compute into something that we can grab onto and think about and have. It's all contradictions together, because that's what is. There are no so then there are no contradictions. There are nothing separate. Everything. So how do you think about everything? How do you make a question about everything? Anyway,
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
get me going.
It does appear to be pretty goofy, doesn't it, Don? This appearing as separate individuals sitting here trying to explain and talk about this. This appearing as a Don talking about this. That's why I call it the shit show. the questions, the answers, the figuring it out, the trying to figure it out.
Faith, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say I liked when Emerson says that what's between, I forget what it was, because what's between, yeah, this and that, whatever.
Me and
Well, because so here it shut down any conversation. It shut down all questions. It just was like
Yeah.
Rosa said, a bit like a boom,
Yeah.
and I liked it for that reason.
Yeah, it's like in a way, it's like a Zen koan in that it doesn't really have an answer, so it shuts the mind down. That's,
Yeah.
yeah. And to you, Cedric, I would just say, when the question is asked, you know, what is this? What is asking the question?
Mm.
The place where there's no question.
Beautiful. I really have been enjoying this. Do we have any last comments or questions before we close out this evening?
I just want to say there's something in whatever we did here tonight. There's something, I'm going to use the word magical, and I have no idea what it is. I have no idea what it is, but the group and how we talked and how we shared and how we listened and whatever happened, whatever you want to call it all, it's something very magical. And what was really beautiful, it's sort of like I can feel the magic, but I can't touch it. I can't put my finger on it. I can't say what it is, but it's apparent. Or, you know, it seems like it's like oh, here it comes again. Usually comes with Nkosi, like appreciation. Appreciation. Love that word. And it's just like appreciation, like for nobody or no thing per se.
Yeah.
Just appreciation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful, Don.
And by the way, where is Nkosi? God damn it!
Yeah, I don't know. He's MIA.
let down.
Yeah.
There's no Nkosi, so we didn't really miss anything.
Yeah, it really is like a magic show for nobody, Don. That's how here it's expressed. Is without a past, there's just what's happening. You could say it's just a magic show for no one. Thank you, guys. Each and every one of you, Don, Faith, Dan, Cedric, Amor, and Non. Have a good evening, everybody.
Great. Thank you, everyone.